I want to have some practice controlling my schedule, right?
Yeah.
Like that is hard for us. We're not that good at it. So like there's a little bit of like, I need some reps at owning my time. It's not actually that easy to own your own time.
By the way, this is all in the context of like wanting to generate the most production and
Correct.
be
Well,
most responsive.
that's always the trade-off, right? Is are we trying to solve for production or life? But yeah.
And maybe that's the question. Are we trying to solve for life or work? There is nothing more draining than kind of double timing it, where you're trying to be home with kids or at a gym or golfing, the big three things for me. And also trying to like stay on top of all the pings, the texts, the emails, the Slacks, the Teams.
Mm-hmm.
That double timing it is super draining, and it takes away from both activities. And we say it all the time, like just quit trying to be on the fence. Like either be working or be off, but not both. Well, glad to have you into the 20 whatever century it is.
You're welcome. I feel like we just chatted. Is that right?
We did. We talked last week. Here's the issue, everybody. If you want to know how the sausage is made, by the time you hear us blibber blabber, we're at least a week, likely 2 or 3 weeks after recording it, which is another reason I avoid listening to our own podcast.
How many have you listened to out of curiosity?
A half of one.
That's it?
That's it.
Wow. No, I listened to more than that. I've listened to probably like half the episodes.
Okay. What's your takeaway? Little introspection here.
Yeah, I find it kind of interesting to like listen to it to be like, oh yeah, like that's what we thought was interesting at the time. Or I think maybe I also have a bad memory, frankly. So literally listening to the episode, it feels like completely new content to me.
Hence why you couldn't remember last time we recorded, even though it was like 7 days ago.
Yeah, and so it's truly, I forget what kind of tech company, I think Google or Facebook or whatever, that's like eat your own dog food. Same idea, right? I'm basically listening to our content like a brand new listener every time.
Well, that makes life more exciting. It means you can watch the same Netflix show every 6 months and it feels like it's new again.
No, this is true. I will watch movies or TV shows with Anna and we'll be halfway into it. Like we'll be 4 episodes into like an 8-episode season and I'll realize, oh, I've actually seen this. And it's fun. It's great because it's like good TV. I got to watch again.
Every time like a new season comes out, you can rewatch the previous season and not remember it.
Well, so really here's the thing, though. I just got a CPAP machine.
Oh, wow.
And I'm wondering if that's the reason. So I got a sleep study done. It was very slick. They sent it to my house and I did it at home. And the line between moderate and severe sleep apnea is 30 apnea events per hour. And I had 29.8 apnea events per hour.
Oh my gosh. And to be clear, that means you stop breathing while you're sleeping?
Yeah. And so I got a CPAP machine. I've now used it for 5 nights. And I slept for last night because I can track it now on the like I can track when I put the mask on and when I take it off. And it was on last night for 8 hours and 11 minutes.
Holy cow.
Which I couldn't tell you the last time I slept 8 hours.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So there's a potential that after a few months of, normal sleep, like maybe I'm going to unlock like a new gear.
Well, to be clear, last time we talked, you were sick or recovering from being sick.
Yeah.
So the bar was low, but now the bar is rising quickly.
Totally. Yeah. No, so I feel like for the first time in 30 years, I'm going to be rested.
And this is notice to the rest of the world, or at least our community, that the smartest mind in ETA might become smarter.
Or either that, or I just decide like, oh, I'm moving on from everything. I'm like, now I'm a new man. I don't know.
Wait, I decided to do what with my career?
Exactly. I wake up out of a fog and I'm like, wait, I'm doing what exactly? I'm running a tree care business?
What?
What bozo decided to put me on this career track?
Oh, man. Gotta have fun.
But I think, otherwise, it'll be good. Yeah, I'm feeling good about it.
Well, we need to follow up on this. This is a key development in our lifestyle hacking or
Exactly. And
health.
also Anna
Health.
also has a CPAP. So now every night it's like we're both just like getting plugged into the matrix and going to bed. But it's kind of
Oh
nice
man.
actually, because it's also like I have the habit, I'll do a last little bit of scrolling before I go to bed. But now I have to I put the mask on. It's like you don't really want to do anything once you have the mask on. You just want to go to bed. So it's actually, I think it's like better sleep hygiene. So I think there's some placebo impact also.
Wow. This is
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah.
In your humble abode, you probably have some serious oxygen levels floating around.
Dude, you could get a contact high if you just walk in.
Walk into your place and feel like a casino.
Exactly. we're running high percentage concentration oxygen.
We have gotten a little off track, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
So what's our topic today?
So the topic today is, and we're going to also revert on a few things we talked about in the past because Kaustubh's getting some traction, and I want to continue encouraging further traction. And that is, I will say that in most cases, for boot campers who want to get into ETA, no matter where they're coming from, they want to do it because the rationale falls under the umbrella of independence. Now, it could be independence of money, independence of time, independence of making your own decision making, whatever it is, it falls under independence. What I will say is a large part of that group wants control over how they use their time, where they need to be, and when. And so that's our topic today is Kaustubh and I are going to talk a bit about our weekly schedules to the extent they repeat or look similar week over week, and our daily routines, and, talk a little bit about the why.
Yep. And I think it's interesting to compare it against the original context, which are the jobs we came from, right? Where, I'm sure my experience was similar to yours in Big Law, but I worked the hours that the job required at any given moment to the extent that, you have a dinner kind of planned, and a deal is, in full gear, you blow up the dinner, work always came first, and it overpowered anything else on your schedule.
All right. So let's provide that context. How many years were you in a corporate career and what age were you?
So I did the finance thing from basically 22 to 28. So six-ish years.
6 years? Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll call Big Law the most recent, corporate career I had. It was from 26 or 7 to 30, give or take. So call it 3-4 years. And I worked in Big Law in Tampa, which, to be clear, it's not the biggest Big Law market. I would say that I worked for a relatively sweaty sweatshop of firms that was fantastic training, experience, mentorship. So I say sweatshop with all due respect. They are a great firm. And yet, we worked very hard. So what was your routine like, if you could describe it? Planned hours plus things that came on top of the planned hours.
Yeah. So the routine roughly was, we usually came in a little bit late, right? So came in around 9:30-ish, had some breakfast at the office, and really got into the swing of things, which would be a lot of meetings, right? Calls, meetings, things like that about deals from, call it 10 to 5. And then you're trying to, pepper in work, keep up with emails throughout the day. And then really around 5 or 4, depending on when your meetings ended, you could then start kind of your longer work, so to speak, your more focused work. And so I would generally plan most weekdays. I'm eating dinner at the office around, 6-ish, do a little bit more work after dinner. And then, if it's a normal week, I would probably go home around 7:30. So saying that now sounds kind of crazy, but it wasn't that bad, actually. It was sort of a 9 to 10 hour day a lot of the week. So to call that 50-ish hours a week. But when you are in live deal mode, right, where you're actually a deal is under LOIs and you are working on it, then sort of all bets are off.
And all bets are off, meaning it just could go into the wee hours of the morning. You're working weekends.
Yep. The one I remember I forget if I told you the story, Sam, but we're working on a deal and last minute, we're trying to bring in a big co-investor for that deal, basically. I mean, it was a massive underwrite. It was like 950 million of EBITDA. So really, large deal. And so we needed to bring in some third-party investors alongside us. And so we get our founder gets a meeting with like a really well-known investor for the next day, right? And he's like, hey, can you guys put together some materials for this? And I'm sort of being like a little bit of a PE diva, being like, what is this? Like, we don't put pitch materials together. Like, that's not our job, right? Like, but whatever. Like, you got to do what you got to do.
What am I,
So
a banker again?
exactly. I was a little brat. But anyways, and it was my birthday was the other
Oh,
part of it. That day was I remember that was like a Thursday night. It was my birthday. And our boss, like our founding partner, had to fly out Friday morning to go meet with this potential co-investor. So it basically blew up my whole Thursday evening, right? Like we were just working on it till like whatever 3 a.m. to get it done. And so I can't, I had dinner plans with my girlfriend at the time, canceled all that and just like got it done. Next morning, I go into the office and I'm meeting with kind of our like a senior partner, but not the founding partner, and just sort of rehashing, like the work and whatnot. And, he was very like nice about it. He was like, yeah, thank you for doing that. I know that was last minute. He was very, gracious about it. And then he goes, but, like, at least it's not like it was your birthday or something, right?
and did you admit it?
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, my like 1-up level was in the meeting with us also, so he knew it had been my birthday, and he was like, no, it was his birthday. I was like, oh no.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
That's when I say bets are off. That's that's the nature of it.
That is the nature of it. And, now that we look back at it, those were hard days for sure, but we probably learned more in a compressed period of time because they were intense. And you learn to function well under duress.
Correct.
Not just stress.
100%. And so what I've been noticing though is like coming from that now into small business world, right? Like part of the purpose of this, at least for me, is to have time independence. But my habits that have been drilled into me is that like the business gets what the business wants, right? And the business owns my schedule. And that's appropriate, I think, for the first couple of years, to be clear, right? Like you have to do that for a while just to get off the ground. But now I'm sort of, 3.5 years in, almost 4 years. And I'm sort of hitting that point of like, hey, like I don't have to set up my schedule to be like Monday through Friday, 7 to 3 exactly, or 7 to 5 or whatever. Like there is more, like there's something I can do here to be smarter and more intentional, basically.
Got it. Okay. So let's talk about this too. So we've discussed in the past, like Bloom as a resi tree care business, and generally the industry, like a lot of home services do, have like norms for schedules. What is the norm?
Yeah, so our team as a whole is on from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's like their 8-hour shift. Our call coverage is much larger, like wider than that, obviously. So we have sort of CSRs on more, but like 90% of our team is working from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Got it. And, that's a lot different than the routine you were working previously, where this is early to early. You previously were like late to late.
Correct. Which, there's pros and cons to that. The primary con being I'm not a morning person, but I've slowly gotten better at it. But basically, the constraints I have within my schedule are I'm no longer running the morning crew dispatch, and I haven't been for over a year. So me being there at 7 on the, like 6:30 to like get dispatch ready is no longer a constraint, and it used to be a constraint. But the release of that constraint gives me a lot more flexibility in terms of how I want to design my life. The second, now the real constraints are I have roughly 7 people who report to me that I do one-on-ones with each week. And the challenge is out of the 7 of them, only 2 of them are in the office, right? The other 5 are sort of sales guys in the field, like kind of roving, right? And so you actually have to schedule time for them to come into the office and do a one-on-one with me. And so that's also when I need to be present in the office. So there's a bit of a weird scheduling constraint there for the sales team in particular. So that's the second constraint. The third is sort of testing out running crews on Saturdays more often so that we can kind of create a little bit of overtime opportunity, add some more crew capacity without having to hire on a whole nother crew. But if we have anyone out on a Saturday, like I'm mentally plugged in, right? And so I'm trying to figure out how do I that's part of what kind of pushed this discussion to the forefront over the past week or so is like this past Saturday, we tried to run a crew. There were some logistics issues that happened. So, I got my first call at 7:30 a.m. on Saturday. I got another call at like 8:30 a.m. on Saturday. And Anna, to her, like very reasonably was like, hey, what's the deal here? Right. And so that's where I'm now looking at like, okay, holistically, what should my schedule look like?
This episode is brought to you by the Kalmar Group, a recruitment firm that specializes in placing leaders in the SMB community. Most small business owners treat hiring like a side project. Post on a job board, text a few friends, and hope for the best. But when it comes to leadership roles, hope isn't a strategy. The truth is, your people are your most valuable asset, and building the right leadership team requires more than luck. It takes a proven process. That's where the Kalmar Group comes in. They help owners like you find exceptional leaders in operations, sales, finance, and marketing, from managers to the C-suite, so you can stop guessing and start growing. Whether you're running a long-standing business or just acquired one through ETA, change is constant. Key people leave, new opportunities arise, and when they do, the Kalmar Group is there to help you hire with clarity, confidence, and speed. You hire an expert for legal, bookkeeping, taxes, etc. So why are you flying solo on recruiting and hiring? With clients across the country and a track record of results, Kalmar doesn't just fill roles. They raise the bar for how you hire. Led by founder Dylan Scroggins, a 15-year recruiting veteran, the Kalmar Group exists to help business owners stop settling for good enough and start hiring the kind of leaders who truly move the needle. To learn more, visit thekalmargroup.com or connect with Dylan directly. More details are in the show notes.
What are you really trying to solve for? Or is this just a natural, I've been in the business long enough where the all hands on deck period is over.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little bit more support. And so I'm trying to maybe rejigger my schedule for the longer haul. Is that like the intention here? Or is this solely because you're thinking about bringing some Saturday coverage in and pulling that time out elsewhere? Like, why are we talking about this today?
Yeah, I think it's the combo of, okay, actually, there's a couple different things. One is the Saturday coverage, right? That's what sort of goaded the topic, so to speak. But in thinking about that, Anna and I have also been thinking like, hey, like, how do we want to do like our hobbies and our activities outside of work, right? Because she also has a pretty flexible schedule as a nanny. She currently works Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. And so we were having a little bit of a discussion of like, hey, like, if we want to do cross country or downhill skiing this winter, which, we both really enjoy, it's a lot easier to do it on a weekday than it is to do on a weekend. And I can get a lot more work done on a Saturday morning than I can on a Monday afternoon, right?
Sure.
So like that's the immediate one we were thinking about switching is maybe I just go in Monday morning, do my morning meeting, do kind of like a little bit of organize for the week, but then I take Monday off after 11 a.m. and I pick that work up Saturday morning.
That's super interesting, by the way. Are Mondays not the busiest day of the week for you?
They are the busiest day of the week for the team. They are not the busiest day of the week for me, because usually what happens for me is like, because the sales team reports directly to me, right? Like after a couple days of them going out and meeting with clients, like they then start to have questions about the bids that they're trying to send out. And so it's really like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I start to get questions. So I need to allocate time to support the sales team in the back half of the week.
Okay. So it's in many ways is responsive. It's responsive to you needing business-wise to be on call partially on Saturdays.
Yep.
To be responsive to your team that reports to you, which is more productive in the back half of the week.
Yep.
So it means like the natural cadence of your responsibilities as owner, manager are back week loaded, and the beginning of your week is kind of light.
Correct. And what I've done right already is like Tuesdays is work from home. So it's sort of on Tuesdays I can actually sit and do like a little bit like longer term work.
Yeah.
And so that's actually worked pretty well. And so I kind of, what I did is I created a sheet in Google, and I created some time blocks, basically 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., like a 1 hour time block, then 2 3 hour time blocks, 8 a.m. to 11, 11 to 2, and then a 1 hour time block, 2 to 3. So basically like 1 hour at the front of the day, 1 hour at the end of the day, and then 2 3 hour blocks in between. That's how I kind of thought about my week, so to speak. And maybe I'll share my screen so and people who are on YouTube can see this, but I'll try to describe it for folks who are listening. But this is what I created basically. Okay, that looks good, right? So basically, if I were to say Monday, we have our crew meeting on Monday mornings, and then I have basically 3 hours to organize my work, and then I'm just off Monday afternoon. Then Tuesdays, I'm work from home, and it's basically primarily time to do my own work and 1 slot for meetings such as this podcast recording. Wednesday, back in the office / kind of going around, like that's when I start to like do my like errands and running around town kind of stuff. And that's when I do my in-office kind of one-on-ones. And I'm basically trying to reserve all my meeting schedules, like with external, whether it's for small business investing, the blog, whatever, like to be this Wednesday, Thursday afternoons. Then Thursday is really where I create a big block, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. for supporting the sales team, where I can sit down with each of them and really work through any bids that they're working on that have piled up from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? And then same thing on Friday. We've really blocked our sales team on Friday, where they do a little bit of bidding in the morning, but then the afternoon they have basically open to get caught up on all their quotes and get them all sent out before the weekend. And so that's also when I'm going to block myself off. I'll do all my one-on-ones with them, and I'll do sales support basically, such that each Friday we should be able to end the week with quotes all sent for the week, that week. And then finally Saturday, when nobody's nobody needs my direct help, there's just a crew dispatching, I can basically take a half day in the morning and just do my own work.
Got it. So this all makes sense. This is in many ways like reactive to the business's needs and your team's needs. So how does this work for your life?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think the primary way I think this works for my life is, I think by creating Monday afternoons off, I really want to commit Monday afternoon to be sort of life recharge time, right? And that is either play golf, work out, ski, like actually go do something active, like don't come back to the house and get on my laptop, right? That's, I think the key is and the part that I'm most nervous about this schedule shift is, am I actually going to be capable of not doing work on Monday afternoons? But the idea is on Monday mornings, in the morning slot, I have spent the time to actually organize my week to come, and I have a plan for what all I want to work on for that week. And so in theory, like I'm basically organized and ready to go, such that on Tuesday, when I actually start work at home, I'm ready to just attack.
Is there a way you could swap the morning and the afternoon slots? Because, and I get it, that's where, you have to ask yourself, can your work be reactive to your personal life? But if you were to be able to be off in the morning till say lunchtime, then you could still get your full 2-day weekend. Your weekend becomes Saturday from noon on Saturday to noon on Monday. You could travel on a weekend and not come back until Monday mornings.
Right. Yeah, that's a good thought. I'll have to think about that. The main challenge is this crew meeting we have every Monday morning. That's our full team. Yep. And again, this is where sort of the business wins, right?
Yep.
And look, the reality is, like, if I do need to travel, like I don't run that team meeting. We have a safety leader who runs that meeting. So if needed, I don't have to be there, but I like to be there as much as I can. So I will say, so that crew meeting, it's not reliant on me. So I'm actually pretty comfortable missing it if needed. But you're right that this is still pretty business reactive.
Can I give you like a similar trade-off that I see happening a lot?
Yeah.
My wife, like every year or two, will try to rethink her schedule. She's in healthcare. So she can't do her healthcare away from the office. There's no work from home.
Yeah.
Which is good and bad. In many ways, she envies my flexibility. I can go to the kids' stuff. I can take a totally random day off or afternoon off. And yet, oftentimes, I'm envious of the fact that she has no choice but to leave her work at work.
Totally.
So when she decided to request her schedule, like a long time ago, handful of years ago, she immediately went to, well, I want to take Fridays off in order to get 3-day weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it made sense to me. The problem is like Fridays are a big day for people to want to get dental surgery because it gives them 2 following days of recovery time.
Right.
It's most convenient to the needs of the patient, i.e. the customer and the business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always said, well, wouldn't it be smarter to take like middle of the weekdays off
Mm-hmm.
and therefore, get the highest demand days, Fridays. This, by the way, this is all in the context of like wanting to generate the most production and
Correct.
be
Well,
most
that's
responsive.
always the trade-off, right? Is are we trying to solve for production or life? But yeah.
And maybe that's the question. Are
Yeah.
we trying to solve for life or work?
Right. And where is she landed now?
She landed on sticking with the Fridays off.
Nice.
And it didn't really, really impact production as far as I can tell. Like it always made sense why Mondays she should be there because it's like all the weekend stuff flows into like a very busy day on Mondays.
Yep.
And then, as I think when we were younger, we didn't have kids. The Friday off for travel was really valuable. We could we were like in the wedding phase of life where there were a lot of weddings. Well, now with 3 kids and stuff, there's like middle of the week recharge day is actually very valuable. So she always has a middle of the weekday off. And that's helpful. It's like, all right, I made it 2 days. Monday, Tuesday was a sprint. I now take Wednesday off. I recover. And then I do like a Thursday, sometimes Friday sprint, and then recover.
No, that makes sense. That's the one downside with this schedule I'm putting together is like we are in the wedding season of life, right? And so if I am stacking my one-on-ones on Friday afternoon, that gets tougher for sure. The one thought I've had on that is like if I need to trade that Friday afternoon to travel, I could trade it to basically the Monday that's about to arrive. And so I could basically push everyone's one-on-ones only 2 days as opposed to skipping a whole week.
Yeah.
And
could you go back to that sheet? Here, just by having this like schedule on the screen, we're quasi forcing people to go to our YouTube channel.
That's right. Yeah, it's going to be a lot less fun just to listen to this, but it's hopefully I've explained it well enough that you can kind of follow what we're saying.
All right. So now I want to. Were you done on that? Because I kind of have like a new thing now.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. First couple years, like you're underwater, you're drowning. Everything is a fire drill. You don't know what your priorities are. This is all normal for the first year or 2. But then you get to a point 3 or 4 years in where you're at, where like you need to be able to start spending some more time alone, thinking about and building your business that's not a meeting or a reaction.
Correct.
So where are you building in your on the business time? Maybe that's the quote, my work quote.
Yeah, that's what my work is meant to be, right? It's sort of Tuesdays, Saturday mornings. Monday, my work is more like organizing what I'm going to work on as opposed to doing work. Like I actually think there's 3 categories, right? There's work in the business, there's work on the business, and there's work on work, basically. Like work on organizing yourself. And so Monday is work on work. Then Tuesdays is work on the business. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is a lot more work in the business. And then Saturdays, again, work on the business.
Got it. And is this by accident or on purpose that your work on the business time is all work from home?
That's very much on purpose. That's like when I can do it, right? Is if I can work from home, I can actually sort of focus and do steady work for a while.
Because you're avoiding like the natural pings that come from like a question about this or
Exactly. Which like, when I'm in the office, I welcome it, right? Like it's part of why I'm there so that the team can ask me things on the fly.
Yep.
But I need to carve time out to be able to do kind of more inflow work.
Yeah, I think this is partially where I have fallen short is I got that tip a long time ago to truly separate your physical space based on what kind of work you're doing.
Yep.
And like furthermore, like go home, there was a period where I had very young kids at home all the time. Now all my kids are at school, at least some days.
Right.
So home is quiet again.
Right.
You can hear like the exhaustion in my voice.
Mhm.
And then further, like not only do the natural, like, hey, knock on the door pings slow down, but like if you can turn your phone off, if you can turn your internet off, you can almost get to a point where like by changing your physical space, you turn your brain off, or you turn it like on maybe
Yeah,
to proactive mode and not reactive mode.
totally. It's like,
Yeah.
are you in the firefight? And I have to, it takes real effort when I'm home to not jump in to answer things because I still have Slack open. I'm looking at the message flow and like there are questions I could answer, right? But the team can also answer it. And so like it takes some self-discipline to let those questions go through and let the team handle it such that I can stay focused on a longer term project I'm working on.
Couple more questions. I'm looking at your sheet and I'm seeing that your time blocks are 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Yep.
Is that seriously all the time you are like you must work on Bluma? Like,
No.
Let me ask you another question.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you spending evenings
hmm
working on Bluma?
I'm not at, no, very rarely now. It's a, honestly, what it like to be 100% transparent. It's if Anna's out of town, then I probably do.
Yeah.
If she's not, then I spend time with her. So I would say the it's not really 3 p.m. It's probably I probably leave when I'm at the office. I probably leave the office sometime between 3:30 and 4:30 reasonably.
Yeah.
So that last slot, that last slot should really read like 2 to 4, 2 to 5. But I created those slots based on my team slots because
Sure.
that's how they're set up. But no, I think like I'm not, I don't have, my bottleneck is not hours, right? My bottleneck is totally energy.
So I think it's worth telling people that once you get to a point where things are a little bit more sustainable, you don't need to work 80 hours a week to be a successful small business owner. Now, having some leverage on your business will always cause a little anxiety that will cause people to push harder, which is probably a good thing. But like, you're going to be 5 years into this, not too long from now.
Yep.
And you're going to have a routine that's going to look, I hope, like pretty darn sustainable. In many ways, I'm like jealous of that because if you guys decide to have a family, well, wow, I can actually see that working pretty well. Or like I always think of the prototypical small business owner as the guy or gal who is able to take like every Friday off or every Wednesday off and play golf, so to speak. I could see a world where like you're shifting your Tuesday time is too valuable. You could compress your schedule to get a full day off midweek.
Totally. No, and that's, I mean, I don't think like I was saying, right? My limiting factor is totally just energy, right? Like that is where, like, if I could do more with the business if I worked 80 hours a week, the problem is like, I just don't have the energy to give 80 good hours, right?
Yeah, totally.
And so that's actually where the schedule is maybe, like, I've set up the schedule to say like, hey, if you were only going to have 40 to 50 hours of energy to give, this is how we make that time useful.
This episode is brought to you by Aspen HR. Are you sick and tired of dealing with rising health insurance costs? Did you just acquire a business and discover the employee handbook hasn't been updated in 5 years? Do you think there is an opportunity to make your payroll process more efficient? Or are you tired of dealing with slow responses and payroll errors from your current vendor? If you want to professionalize your HR, benefits, and payroll function, reach out to Aspen HR. Run by a former searcher, Mark Sinatra, Aspen HR is the white glove PEO for search operators. Email sales@aspenhr.com today. And for our listeners, Mark will offer you a complimentary HR due diligence assessment.
And what is it? Because you used to give 80 hours back in finance. Is it this type of work is more taxing to you? Maybe you're like an quasi introvert who's, forced to be more extroverted as a people manager. Is it, the B2C homemaker that's causing you to lose some energy when you screw up their work or
It's
oxygen.
the right time for you to say that because we just got this 1-star review from a client that is so frustrating, or we've gone back 3 times to make it better. And anyways, but yes, that is part of it. But no, I think the actual thing that is limiting the process I had to go through, and you and I talked about this in the past, even before the podcast, is for the business to get built to the size we want it to get built to, right? And just kind of make its way there. Like, I can't burn out too fast, right? Like, it is going to take time for the business to get there because small businesses or any business just take time to progress. And so, like, I could work 80 hours and go into a huge energy deficit, and I could sustain that, right, for a while. And then I won't, right? Like, then I'll burn out. And so, when I was in finance, that was sort of the way we did it, right? Is like we sprinted really hard because you knew the live deal would only go so long. And then, the deal would either die or it would close. And then you would kind of like catch your breath for a little bit. That's not really that's not like the cadence of small business, right? Like small business, we need to be improving, 1% a day, every day for like years, right? And so there's no inherent cycle of go run at a deficit and then catch your breath. And I've thought about it. I've actually thought about this before. Like, should I try something different where I work 60 hours a week for 3 weeks and then take every 4th week off? Right? Like, I thought about, because maybe I'm just better at sprinting than marathon running, but that comes with a whole different set of challenges. Like, I'm just gone for a week from the business, each month. And so that's where I've settled in. It's like, okay, no, I think what I actually have to do is I need to restrict myself to 40 to 50 hours a week and not run an energy deficit such that I could then do this for years.
I think that's very smart. It's very hard to do. When I go on stretches trying to do what you're talking about, the mistake that's easy to make is like, okay, you go home at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And from 4 till 8, you have Slack up in the background or you're checking your emails, and like that just doesn't get your energy back. I think I've made that mistake for a while.
And the way I've had to really change my mindset around this, obviously, but basically, like, if I were to grow this business, 10% a year for the next 5 years, right? Like, that 10% in the 5th year is so meaningful, right? At that point, that if I instead grow, 12% for 3 years or 4 years, and I lose that 5th year because I burnt out, like, it washes the whole thing out.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm not seeing though is it doesn't look like you've been able to go against the fact that the home services business is an early to early business. That doesn't seem to be fungible.
I don't see a world in I am a backup call for the team. You know what I mean? Like, I don't generally get the first call, but I am a backup call. And so if the team is out and running at 7, like, I have to be awake and kind of mentally aware. So I think that's where, your business model is a limiting factor on schedule. Like, I will have to do an early to early schedule.
And I think people should know that, by the way, because a lot of, especially self-funded ETA buyers are getting into, I don't know how to describe that. I don't want to say like commercial services or home services, but like industries that tend to start earlier and end earlier is very common.
Yep.
In the maybe non-white collar environments.
Absolutely. And honestly, it works well. Like, early to early, I think, is a better lifestyle. It just, you have to really kind of set up your life to work that way.
Yep. And coming from like Big Law was very much late to late, especially where I worked. If I walked in at 10 a.m., nobody would bat an eye.
Right.
But when I walked out before 8 o'clock at night, it was just so against the grain and the culture.
Yep.
And so like that causes, you stay up late, you eat late, and you just build your entire like circadian rhythm around that schedule. And then to have to flip it is tougher than it looks.
Totally. So that's where I'm like, okay, I need to start I need to design a schedule that I actually am excited to maintain, right? And then I also have to go maintain. Like you have to when you go home, you cannot check the emails or the Slacks because you're shooting yourself in the foot for being able to sustain this schedule.
Yep. So then you said Hannah works, did you say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Right now, she like her nannying shifts are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then she does a bunch of sort of other side type activities, both volunteering and paid. And so those she kind of slots into her Mondays and Fridays. But I think we're trying to set this up where ideally we both are just not working Monday afternoon so that we could go skiing.
Yeah. So really you're just shifting your weekend back a half a day.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And I think we were talking offline, just in thinking through today that, and you mentioned it to start, like there is actually a pretty big benefit to shifting personal stuff to weekdays, because think about it. 80, I'm just totally guessing here, but there is a huge portion of the population that goes to an office to work Monday to Friday. And to the extent you can do things like a round of golf on a Monday or a Tuesday, not only are you going to be able to do it quicker, like golf can take an eternity on a Saturday because it's slammed to the gills.
Totally.
So you can play much faster on a weekday, but it's also like in many cases less expensive. So there are some real pros to being able to rotate that downtime.
No, that's where like, the skiing has gotten more and more painful on the weekends. You have to like have a parking reservation and it's super crowded and all that. Like I would much rather go on a Monday afternoon, like go do 3 hours because the resort we go to here, it's like a 45-minute drive from home. And so we can literally, drive out there, ski for 3 hours, be home for dinner. And like that is just so much more pleasant and a better use of our time than trying to spend a whole Saturday like fighting traffic and fighting the crowds.
Yeah. Good point.
So yeah, I'm excited to try this. I think I'm going to launch this December 1, like right after Thanksgiving, and
Really
give
cool.
it a crack and see what happens.
Well, good luck.
Thank you. Where are you at with scheduling? Are you happy with it right now? Or are you do you have a routine?
I mean, we all have routines. I'd say like the big thing that you're doing better than me is I'm doing a lot of, like, I've got to find a way to separate work and home. The phones don't help. I know we've talked about the red box. And there's nothing more draining than kind of double timing it where you're trying to be home with kids or at a gym or golfing, the big 3 things for me. And also trying to like stay on top of all the pings, the texts, the emails, the Slacks, the Teams. And that double timing it is super draining and it takes away from both activities. And we say it all the time, like just quit trying to be on the fence, like either be working or be off, but not both.
Yep.
So I think the best stretches of time, and I'll admit like I'm way less rigid than this to my detriment probably, is so a lot of the folks I work with are on the West Coast. So if I get up, like we get up pretty early, like 5:30. And, for like 45 minutes, triage a bunch of emails, get to like back to no tasks in the email inbox.
Yep.
Then, let's say it's 6:15 in the morning, go work out in the garage or go for a run, whatever, rotate gym with my wife. And then like I can have the morning routine with the kids be kind of free of that work overhang because I got it out of the way. Then I got exercise out of the way. So I'm kind of like wide open then from, when the kids wake up to 8 when they start school. And I know a lot of people, what they do is like, they don't get up that early. So what they'll do is like, they'll do the morning routine, then they'll do the gym after dropping the kids and then go to work. But then their work day doesn't start till 9:30. And I don't know. That doesn't work as well for our life.
Right. I guess the part that sounds hard there for me is you have to switch. You're switching from being on work to off work to back on work. I find that hard.
Yeah. The alternative is like I don't need to do that like triage from 5:30 or 5:15 to 6. I
Mm-hmm.
could just not do that.
Mm-hmm.
But then at 8 o'clock, I'm trying to unbury while things are happening. Calls are
Yeah.
starting, meetings are happening,
No,
emails are
I
coming
think
in.
the way what you described makes a ton of sense as long as you can make those mental shifts like along the way. I just think I would struggle with that, but it sounds like you like if you can make that work, that sounds really smart.
I would say like right now, my stretch is not working because it's very much like at times when I'm trying to be off, I'm catching myself trying to be both.
Yep. One thing you could try is like, they talk about for habits, really just creating an environment that allows for the habit to form, right? And
Yep.
so I've changed a lot of my notification settings now where like at 5 p.m., like a lot of my app notifications automatically turn off. And so I can still go look at them, but I have to actively decide like, hey, I want to go check. It's not pushing to my notifications.
Okay. I think that's smart. I think it's harder than it looks to not just then impulsively check a lot.
Correct. But yeah, I mean, so what I like the way I said it, I've changed a lot of them now to do the scheduled summaries in the iPhone, right?
Yeah.
Where,
Yeah.
and so then I can look at it, I can scan it every now and then. And if it's not worth doing, I don't go into it. And that way it stays in the unreads.
Okay. Smart. And so you then batch a lot of your
And then I
pings.
batch it. Yeah. So that's where I'm like, okay, like if I do want to actually get on Slack and answer some things during my quote unquote like evening or off time or whatever, fine. But then I'm going to say like, okay, it's whatever, 6 p.m. and I have 15 minutes before I want to go into whatever, like I'm starting to cook dinner. Like then I'll stop and at 6 and I'll actually spend 15 minutes, answer everything at once and be done again.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I think maybe that's where we're getting to is like creating some boundaries and sticking to them is
Yep.
the answer. It's just harder than it looks.
Oh, absolutely. No, it is. It is really hard. It takes a real self-discipline because up to this point in our careers, we have been rewarded for being really high urgency people, right?
Yes. Yes.
And that's the shift here, right? Is you need to like lower urgency on things that are not actually urgent.
And that is really hard to do.
Correct. That's not how we're wired.
Yeah. Another one I had is like, for me, if I can go hit balls at the driving range, like
Mhm.
once a week would be a huge energy, builder.
Yep.
And I'm thinking about using a half a day to go do that and just build in the time that like physically getting to that location where my heartbeat will come down, like I'll calm down a little bit as a place to work kind of on the business a little bit more.
Yep. Yep.
And have that be a bit of a trigger. Like I'm going to go dedicate an afternoon once a week to that.
Yep.
And just also stay there. Like, can you imagine in just the clubhouse of the golf course, sit there, have a lunch, do an hour or two of work, and then go hit balls for an hour or two, and then call it a day.
No, I think the natural physical changes, I use that all the time. That's crucial, right? Like if I'm going to now do this Mondays off thing, but I'm going into the office in the morning, I'm going to set it up that like I don't come home until I've done the activity, right? Like I cannot come home, regroup, and then go out again. That's not how I want to set that up.
Agree. And a lot of these changes will just be like what we're trying to do is almost create these artificial boundaries where, because if you're physically in a location where everybody else is working, you're just going to work. And
Absolutely.
So maybe that's why we're spending almost an hour here talking about not just the scheduling, but where we're going to go do these things.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to create them, right? Because when you're in W-2 world, like somebody creates them for you.
Yep. It's funny because like this, I can see this working really well for you and Anna, but I can see this working equally well if you decide to have a family, like you can not make serious edits to this routine.
Yeah. And honestly, part of it is also just, I want to have some practice, like controlling my schedule, right?
Yeah.
Like that is hard for us. We're not that good at it. And so if we do decide to have kids in the future, like I need to get good at this because I'm going to have to do it again once we have kids, right? And be able to like build a schedule and stick to it and actually control it. So like there's a little bit of like, I need some reps at owning my time. It's not actually that easy to own your own time.
Yeah, it's funny. But at the end of the day, like a lot of these businesses are quiet, you know, after 3 o'clock, and
Totally.
we're just all addicted in many cases to just always being on. And
Well, the other news, on the 1 yard line to close my first syndicate deal, which would be cool.
really,
Yeah, really close.
Very cool.
Because with the government reopening, that searcher has his SBA number now, so they might close next week, might close the week after, but we're basically there.
that's neat. Congrats.
Yeah, that should be cool. Thank you.
What
Yeah,
was the total equity raise, if you can share?
Yeah, I mean, I won't share for the actual deal, but my syndicate is writing a $250K check.
Cool. Really cool.
So, yeah, and so that's be the first. I'm curious to see. Like, it was a little bit more work than I wanted it to be, but it was also interesting to work on, right? So I think I want to think about, like, what is the pacing I want to do about this? Like, if I do one a year, is that good? Is that one a quarter? Right? Like, and the benefit is by limiting the cadence to how much I want to work on it. It's a forcing function on deal quality, right? Like, I'm only can spend the time on deals that I'm really excited about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. And the good news is, like, the syndicate setup with the economics will reward you for a little bit of extra time,
Yeah.
not for a ton of extra time.
No, that's exactly right. Like, I'm really viewing this as like, hey, like, I like investing. This is a bit of a force multiplier on work I would want to do anyways.
Yeah. I haven't seen anything in your newsletter recently about the syndicate. So how would we find it if we wanted to go check it out?
Yeah, that's a good question. Basically, if you go to that website for Sunthra as a whole, which is SUNTHRA, Sunthra.com, that has links to, my various, both the syndicate, the blog, and has, this podcast listed. So that's sort of my hub of all the random stuff I do. And so that's where you could go from Sunthra.com to the syndicate.
I don't think I knew you had a website up yet. I knew you were using the email, but the website looks nice.
Yeah, it's easy. I put up a little landing page. I also, by the way, big news is on Sunday, I created an account on QuickBooks for Sunthra. It was time.
Wow. Now that makes you a holdco owner?
Exactly. I have more than one QuickBooks account to manage. That's right.
It also means you can write off all these.
Yeah, it's only cash basis. I can't do accrual basis for this.
You don't want to do monthly book reports?
No, gosh. No, the actual thing is so I get subscriber payouts, right, from my blog, because I have paid subscribers on Substack. And the way it works is it runs it through Stripe, and then Stripe batches them every day and deposits them to my bank account. And so I was trying to figure out, do I actually have to, like, reconcile that? Because that's how we do for Bluma, right? It's like we get 10 checks, and then we deposit 10 checks, and then our bookkeeper reconciles the deposit against the 10 individual checks. But it's like, that's so much work for me if I were to do that. And so I was doing some ChatGPT work, and we were sort of like, can I just put the deposits from Stripe in as, like, subscription revenue? And it's like, yeah, that's fine for now. So that's what I'm doing. But there's several revenue lines now. There's subscription. There's the Substack subscription revenue. There's some sponsor, like, quarterly payments. There's some, like, referral type and, like, affiliate payments. And then there is Sunthra, the syndicate stuff, like, once that starts flowing. So
that's really neat.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. And this podcast, obviously. So, like, I gotta, like, on Jan 1, I'll transfer over, the subscription is running on my personal accounts over to the Sunthra account.
Yeah. So is now a good time to say that we're going to be wrapping up the end of the year under our current sponsorships, and we'll be opening up for new sponsorships starting in the new year?
I think that's right. We got to do the math on exactly how many episodes it's been. It'll be New Year-ish.
New Year-ish. Yeah. Today is mid-November, so we've got a little bit of time, a couple months, but
yeah.
So far, we're not a money torching podcast operation.
Hey, we're more profitable than every company in Y Combinator, so.